I am officially declaring a national emergency.
We need to do a lot more. We have to stay ahead of the game in preventing this.
Our testing capacity is nowhere near what it needs to be.
The U.S. could soon be the global epicenter of the outbreak.
Efforts to administer the coronavirus vaccine are ramping up in the United States.
The battle against the virus has reached a new milestone.
The number of deaths are nearing 1 million.
Officials are testing cruise ship passengers stranded just 70 miles off the coast of San Francisco.
To keep new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
I will turn this state upside down to get the number of beds we need.
It was the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who closed the curtain on Broadway. The NCAA has canceled the March Madness National Basketball Tournament. Disneyland in California and Disney World in Florida will shut down until the end of the month.
The home to the U.S. Open is being converted into a 350-bed hospital, and this tent city in Central Park will start accepting patients tomorrow.
No more than 50% of the workforce can report for work outside of the home. That is a mandatory requirement. We need about 30,000 ventilators, and we can just not get them.
Across the country, the coronavirus abruptly forced at least 55 million kids from elementary school to college out of their classrooms.
If you're shopping for groceries, if you're picking up your prescription, or visiting any other essential business, you will need to cover your face. And if you're not covering your face, an essential business can refuse you service.
Even for all the nurses and the doctors that are helping all the people that are sick and dying in the hospital, we love you and thank you for everything that you do.
Easter should be the peak number, and it should start coming down, and hopefully very substantially.
The U.S. death toll from COVID-19 topped 100,000.
100,000 lives have now been lost to this virus here in the United States alone. Each one leaving behind a family that will never again be whole.
Look, the president recognized that landmark before we even hit it. The president, that was, after all, it was the impetus behind him lowering the flag to half staff. He did that for several days, and that was an acknowledgement of that number approaching, and he acknowledged it in a tweet this morning.
The Boston Marathon was postponed.
We will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization and redirecting those funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs.
The tributes, they are pouring in this morning for Nick Cordero. The Broadway star, who was lost a 3-month battle with the coronavirus, died over the weekend. He was just 41.
We urged President Trump and Congress to show the leadership required to protect the lives of our nurses and get us the PPE and other protections we need to do our jobs safely.
The official COVID-19 death toll in the U.S. has now surpassed 200,000, the most of any nation. That's according to Johns Hopkins University.
The nation's largest public school system says it is canceling in-person learning.
We do need to close our schools for the coming days. No one is happy about this decision.
Word that President Trump had contracted the virus not only prompted concern among many Americans, but also around the world.
Someone's supposed to be comfortable voting when this line wraps around the entire building and there's maybe 3 feet of distance between everybody.
CBS News projects that Joe Biden has been elected the 46th president of the United States.
Our work begins with getting COVID under control.
More than 1 million cases in Texas. That's more than the country of Italy.
Breaking news, because tonight the FDA has authorized emergency use of Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine, an historic and hopeful milestone in the middle of a horrific pandemic.
According to Johns Hopkins University, the coronavirus has now killed more than 300,000 people in the United States.
In this moment, 52-year-old ICU nurse Sandra Lindsay became among the first people in the country outside of clinical trials to receive the COVID vaccine.
The FDA has issued emergency use approval for Moderna's coronavirus vaccine, now the second to be approved in the United States.
I'm doing this to demonstrate that people should be prepared when it's available to take the vaccine.
The nurse or doctor there ready to inject Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
That was easy.
Louisiana Congressman-elect Luke Letlow died from COVID-19 complications last night. According to Ballotopia, Letlow is the first elected federal official to die from the coronavirus.
The U.S. coronavirus death toll has now topped 400,000, just one day before a new administration is set to take office.
Countries around the world are struggling with dangerous surges and trying to get vaccines into people's arms as quickly as possible. New variants of the disease have only complicated the situation.
The bells at Washington's National Cathedral are set to toll 500 times, once for every 1,000 lives lost to the virus. President Biden is issuing a presidential proclamation ordering flags to be lowered to half staff for 5 days.
This nation will smile again. This nation will know sunny days again. This nation will know joy again.
We really can't declare victory quite yet.
In light of the contagious variant, B1351, South Africa has been added to the restricted list. International travelers to the United States must provide proof of a negative test within 3 days of travel to airlines prior to departure.
The third vaccine approved this weekend is about to ship out.
Behind me, you see a fleet of UPS aircraft among those set to distribute this Johnson & Johnson vaccine nationwide.
CDC is updating our guidance for fully vaccinated people. Anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing.
Forging vaccination cards is a growing scam.
It doesn't look too complicated to reproduce or make it look real.
At a time when millions are on the road for spring break, Walensky and President Biden are discouraging non-essential travel. The president is once again calling on mayors and governors to reinstate mask mandates.
Please, this is not politics. Reinstate the mandate if you let it down.
Our summer of freedom may be in jeopardy as the Delta variant spreads across the U.S. Cases now nearly doubling every 2 weeks.
It tends to look like it might even be more serious in making people ill.
It took just 15 months for the coronavirus to kill more than 600,000 people here in the United States. It is the highest official death toll in the world.
Some hospitals are running out of ICU beds because the Delta variant is rapidly spreading across the country and around the world. Florida has become the new epicenter of the coronavirus.
It's concerning because it spreads clearly more efficiently than the one that we've been normally dealing with.
That's pushing the Pentagon to require all military members to get vaccinated.
We're seeing an uptick in cases, uptick in hospitalizations across the force, as we are in the country, and the Delta variant is a factor in that.
In the last 3 weeks, more than 50,000 Texas students have tested positive for COVID in school. And sad news out of Florida. CBS News has confirmed that in the Miami-Dade School District, 13 employees have died of COVID. Since the start of the school year, all of them were unvaccinated.
President Biden will receive his COVID-19 booster shot. The president's third shot is in line with the CDC and FDA's new recommendations.
The country reported more than 700,000 deaths from the virus.
The world lost one of the greatest leaders that we have ever witnessed. Quite frankly, it is not possible to replace Colin Powell.
Officials say both a natural origin and a lab leak in Wuhan are possible causes of how the virus first infected humans.
Workers at companies larger than 100 people must be fully vaccinated by January 4th, or be subject to weekly COVID testing.
The FDA has given a thumbs up for millions more Americans to increase their protection from COVID by authorizing the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson booster shots.
The U.S. is allowing international visitors who are fully vaccinated to make non-essential visits.
With proof of vaccination. This relaxed rule applies to those entering by land or ferry border crossing or by air.
CBS News has learned the first known U.S. Omicron patient traveled through here, San Francisco International Airport.
Omicron is almost 2.5 times more likely to reinfect people who previously had COVID.
Experts say the COVID-19 cases will continue to rise in the weeks ahead this winter. So we need to be ready.
The United States passing 800,000 deaths, almost 2 years into the pandemic.
The FDA authorized vaccine boosters for children ages 12 to 15.
Every person now can order up to 4 free tests per residential address. The website, covidtests.gov.
According to Johns Hopkins University, more than 900,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus so far.
Parents of children under 5 will have to wait even longer for them to be vaccinated against COVID.
We're all, burnt out to several, different degrees.
The FDA did not consult with its vaccine advisory committee before authorizing a second booster from Pfizer and Moderna for people 50 and over.
To combat the uptick in infections, the CDC is planning to extend a federal mask requirement on transportation, that's planes and trains, through May 3rd.
Vice President Harris had just arrived at the White House for a meeting with the president Tuesday morning when a routine COVID test came back positive.
Moderna is seeking emergency use authorization for a COVID-19 vaccine for use in young children 6 months to under 6 years old.
A decision is expected sometime in June.
We've had Alpha, Beta, Delta, Omicron, BA2, BA4, BA5. We are no longer in that fulminant acute phase. That does not mean that the pandemic is over. By no means is it over.